public speaking students and honored guests. Today I want to introduce you to some of my friends that I had when I was a young child growing up in the U.S. And maybe you recognize some of them. Babe the Pig, Bugs Bunny, Donald Duck. Do you know Bessie the Cow? She was very popular in my country. And Lassie, Porky Pig, you know? Mr. Ed, do you know Mr. Ed the talking horse? No? And Foghorn Leghorn, do you know him? Yeah. So these were all my good friends when I was growing up. And I want to ask you, what is it that they all have in common, other than being my good friends?
Animal.
They're all animals. Yeah, but what else? These are all animals that we eat. People somewhere in the world eat. And when I was growing up, it was very confusing to me, because I would watch the cartoons in the morning and really enjoy them, and they're like my friends, and I love them, and then we'd come down for lunch, and we'd be eating ham. I said, "Mom, it's Porky Pig, oh no, I don't want to eat him." She said, no, it's not Porky, it's another pig. But maybe it's Porky Pig's friend. I was very confused. So after a while, I decided that I was going to become a vegetarian. And today I want to talk to you about vegetarian diet for 3 reasons that I think it can help you. For health reasons, for the environment, and for personal reasons. So first, let's talk about health reasons. And you know, there's something called cholesterol, which is animal fat. And animal fat is present in meat when you eat it. And what happens is the animal fat will go into your veins and your arteries and clog them up. And it causes a lot of problems like heart disease. In addition, there's a concentration of chemicals. There's chemicals everywhere in the world, pesticides and things like that. And when you eat anything, you maybe get a little bit, but if you eat meat, you're eating something that already ate them. In other words, that cow has a concentration of chemicals in it. It has accumulated them. And when you eat the meat, you're going to get more than you would get if you didn't. In addition, it's very hard to digest meat, harder than it is to digest a vegetarian diet. Imagine having a piece of meat and putting it here on the counter for 1 or 2 days. What would happen to it? It would start to smell, it would get bad, it would change color, and that's what happens as meat goes through your system. It gets harder and harder to digest. And of course, we all know about infection, right? Mad cow disease from American beef. Well, you don't get that from a vegetarian diet. Well, let's look at some things very quickly, some specifics, and this is where I got this information. Anemia means low blood cells, and you can see that this is a vegetarian diet, this is normal people, and this is health workers. You can see there's a big difference. And diabetes, the blood sugar problem, a big problem, 6 times more in non-vegetarian diet. Thyroid is a very important gland in your throat. Even mental disease, look at the difference between vegetarian and non-vegetarian. Heart disease is a big one, 3 times more likely in non-vegetarians. Blood pressure, also a big difference. Respiration, it's not a big factor, but there is a difference, a noticeable difference. Digestion is a big one, 3 times more problems with non-vegetarians. Bone problems due to calcium, and cancer. A lot of problems due to eating a meat diet. So I've told you about health problems. Now let's talk about a bigger health problem, which is the health of the world. And that's also a problem because cows, in particular, produce greenhouse gas. When cows digest food, they produce a methane from burping, actually. They burp. And you would think it's not a big problem, but there are so many cows that it actually becomes a major factor. In addition to that, water. Cows drink a lot of water, about 100 liters of water a day. And in fact, about half of the water that we use in the world, we are giving to animals so that we can eat them. 80% of the land that we use for producing food is used for animals. Just imagine what we could do with that food if we didn't waste it on producing animals. And of course, we also spend energy just transporting these animals around. And you can check that information there. Well, the problem is that there are just so many animals. In the US alone, there are over 100 million animals. That's about one animal for every 2 people. That's just cows. That doesn't include chickens, lamb, and pigs. And in the world, there are over 1 billion cows. You don't see them in the city, but they're out there in the country and in the farms. Okay, well, we've talked about the environmental problems, how that causes that. Let's talk about personal problems. Did you know that a vegetarian diet is 30 to 40% cheaper than a meat diet? That's a lot of money over a period of 1 year. And also spiritual reasons. What if you die and you go to heaven and you're talking to God, and God is a cow? What are you going to say to him? I'm sorry, God, I didn't know that you were a cow. I'm sorry. Well, what about the damage that we're doing to animals? You know, these animals, some of them, like chickens, are living in little tiny cages. They can't move. They don't have a life. That's a terrible life, a kind of hell. And you may say, I'm not doing it, but actually you're part of the process. You are partly responsible. I found that when I became a vegetarian, I became much more adventurous in my eating. I started trying different things. Do you know there's over 100 kinds of rice in the world? And they have different flavor and different texture. But most Koreans only eat white rice or maybe 2 kinds of rice. And there's hundreds of kinds of beans, lentils, all kinds of things that we can eat if we just stop eating meat and become more adventurous. Now, I know what you're thinking. I know you're saying, yeah, I know it's not healthy and it's not good for the environment, but I really like meat. I just love samgyeopsal and kalbi, and it's just delicious and I can't live without it. Well, I want to show you. Think about this. You see this guy? You know what he's doing? He's doing drugs. He's putting in the heroin into his arm. Why is he doing that?
What fun.
Because he likes it. It feels really, really good for him. So if your only reason for eating meat, after I've told you all this stuff, is that you like it, well, why don't you use heroin? Because you like it. I know you like it. But I know you won't do it, right? Because it's bad for your health and it's bad for society. And eating meat is bad for your health and bad for society. So just saying I like it, that's not a good reason. You know this guy? Einstein, one of the smartest guys ever. And he was a vegetarian. And he said, nothing will benefit human health and increase the chances of survival of life on Earth as much as the evolution to a vegetarian diet. If you won't become a vegetarian because of health reasons, if you won't become a vegetarian because of health of the planet, if you won't do it to save money and to become a more adventurous eater, then do it for him.